You see it every day. A bishop fianchettoed on g7 quietly aiming across the board. But here's the question. You're a King's Indian player. Your style is going straight for your opponent's head. So why is your deadliest piece staring at the queenside? Some people think this bishop is just a glorified defender. But you and I both know, the only thing you can defend is a political figure. Too far? Yeah, it's that kind of video. But if you've ever played the King's Indian, Dragon, Benoni, or Catalan, and you're not easily offended, the next 10 minutes might just change how you look at chess. Rook b7. A disgusting pin of the king and queen. But if you have even a little bit of awareness, you'd see that this rook has no protection. And if you look a bit closer, you might notice that white is dead lost. So how did I sacrifice my most lethal piece to achieve this killing position against 2400 rated player Michael Lotus? Named after a rare flower that blooms only one day a year. Right here in my backyard. Well, Michael's deflowering began with the move knight f6, and after c4, g6 marked the start of the King's Indian defense. The next few moves follow standard King's Indian theory. White grabs control of the center, while I develop my king side and prepare to castle. But first, d6 keeps white's central pawns in check and prepares the classic King's Indian thrust, e5. It's a beautiful Tuesday morning, and all is normal in Zimbabwe. But f3 is one of those weird moves I mentioned in my detailed video on the King's Indian. There are two undeniable truths on God's green earth. You will never master women. And you will never master the King's Indian defense. All we can do is give each other tips. So, if your opponent looks like they're preparing some kind of g4 h4 kingside advance, instead of playing for e5, you should try the c5 pawn break instead. And if your wife is working late for the third time this week? Well, she is closing in on that promotion. Congrats. I castled, and after bishop e3, I played the quiet move a6. The tables have turned. Instead of the normal King's Indian where black attacks the kingside, and white attacks the queenside, now white has hinted that he's coming for my king. I will therefore retaliate on the queenside, and for that mission, the sniper on g7 is the star player on the board. And with the following moves, white makes it clear that he truly is coming for my king. But with the pawn break c5, I asked a simple question. Do you want to open the center with your king still in the middle? Or do you want to play d5 and try to survive against my monster on g7? White chose the latter, and an instant b5 was on the board, a strategic pawn sacrifice. Because if these two files are cleared, and I place my rooks on a8 and b8, with my queen hovering around these squares, and my bishop on g7 observing the whole process, good luck holding on to those two pawns. Good luck holding on to the game. I think chess is more entertaining to learn when you look at it this way, so if you prefer this type of content, and not being drowned in a sea of variations and lines to memorize, leave a like, and this zombie narrator will be very happy. Queen a5 was my move, daring white to capture the second pawn. Instead, he went for h4, and after takes and bishop takes, I played bishop a6, connecting my rooks. Tactics flow from a superior position, and those who follow my How to Attack series on Patreon know that the fundamental building block of a superior position is superior development. And this is the position on the board. All my minor pieces are developed, my king is safe, and my rooks are connected. Black plays king f2, and just like that, the position is ripe for tactics. Can you find the move I played in this position? This should give you an idea of how truly strong I am before you challenge me to a chess game in the comments. Knight takes g4. I find these moves every day, and twice on Sundays. And honestly, that should make up for my failure to find a tiny mysterious body part housing 10,000 nerve endings, the discovery of which does not help me pay my rent. Pawn takes, and can you see the idea? The tactic is centered around the fact that this rook is undefended. But how does action on one side of the board affect a piece all the way on a1? That's what snipers are for. Bishop takes knight, and after pawn takes, the bishop on b5 is hanging. The King's Indian is a fun opening, and it would be unbeatable if it weren't for those dreaded London system players. And dear God are they resourceful. Last week, I met two of them and discovered they secretly built what is perhaps the smartest chess app on the internet. Lotus Chess. But before you let your assumptions run wild, they are brothers. Played the London system since childhood. In Germany. And their app worked so well, they upgraded it to cover every opening and dropped it on the App Store for everyone to use. But, how does it work? You simply log in and enter your Chess or chess.com username. The AI scans all your games, and then it does three things. First, it lets you know you're trash. That's very important. Second, it patches all the holes in your opening repertoire. So if you struggle against the Sicilian or London, it catches that, and helps you fix it. And third, it has a feature called crushing line. It shows you real traps and mistakes people at your level actually fall for, so you start winning games in under 15 moves. It's genuinely brilliant. And somehow, these two geniuses chose beige as their background color. Still, credit where it's due. Hit up the App Store, Google Play, or just click the link below. Lotus Chess. It's German, so you know it works. But you might pause and wonder, what kind of tactic leaves you with equal material as your opponent? Well, you won't get a mate in 3 tactic against a 2400. What you will get is a weak king, and weak pawns, and it's now up to your positional and tactical understanding to finish the job. White plays knight e2, and I captured immediately. Because positionally, I know that in static positions, knights will almost always outperform bishops. And this knight on e5 is beautiful. It controls key squares that no bishop can contest. After white protects his pawn with h3, I swing my rook to the open b file, and white plays queen c1, sidestepping the knight c4 fork. As if I would exchange my beautiful knight for his mid-bishop. No, thank you. Queen a6 check, white moves his king to f2, the final nail in his coffin. Did you see the idea behind the tactic I showed at the beginning? Rook b2, pinning the royals, and white resigns. Because after queen takes b2, the devastating knight d3 check wins the queen. But, how is it done? I used my pawns and pieces to create a disruption on the queen side, so that when the opportunity arose, via a tactic or otherwise, the deadly bishop could be unleashed down the diagonal to devastating effect. And after going through the next game with me, you'll learn how to do the same against a 1e4 player. The move is c5. Our teacher today is British Grandmaster Christopher Ward, the poster child for just how much joy and happiness there is, at the elite levels of chess. His preferred weapon is the dragon Sicilian, an opening characterized by g6 followed by bishop g7, the star of today's video. And before you arrogantly demand it in the comments, yes, there is a Mortal Chess video on it, and yes, I'll link it at the end of this video. Now, I dare you to demand a simple peanut butter and jelly sandwich. Yeah, I thought so. You might as well donate half your belongings to my PayPal, because it's clear I treat you better. And I bet I upload more frequently than you get permission to even dream about it. But f3 is a move you must be familiar with by now. After castles and queen b2, there's no doubt what black's middle game plans are. But true to principle, both sides develop first. Bishop b3 is played anticipating white's knight e5 move. This is a grandmaster level game you're following, and I hope I'm a good enough teacher for you to start making sense of moves like queen a5 by black. h4 is white's response, and in return, black brings a rook to the semi-open c file. Now h5 is on the board, a pawn sacrifice to open up the h file. Not all grandmaster games are boring, and if you look closely, things are about to get heated. Black bravely accepts the sacrifice, but before white can see compensation, he follows basic principles, gets his king out of the center and connects his rooks, by a very special chess move called castling. That's when the king takes 2 steps and I'm kidding. You can subscribe to Gotham Chess for that kind of high-level knowledge. Knight e5 is played, followed by knight e2, protecting c3. After bishop e6, all of white's defenders of the a2 pawn are under some form of attack. White plays king b1, adding more protection. But knight c4 was always black's destination, and letting a knight like that hang around is the equivalent of keeping a venomous snake as a pet. And if you're one of those guys, I always had a genuine question. Why? Until it dawned on me. The snake won't leave you and take half your belongings. Still, takes is the best move. But after g4 hitting the knight, believe it or not, the position is ripe and ready for tactics. And not to brag or anything, but when I went through this game, I saw the move immediately. Knight g3, sacrificing a knight to loosen up the c3 square for the dark squared monster on g2. Did I calculate all the lines? No, I did not. But if white chooses to save his rook with rook h2, the idea is takes, knight takes, and then the disgusting move rook b4, with double attacks on b2 and a2. How do you defend both with one move? You don't. b3? Nice try, but the following sequence is rather disgusting. Queen takes a2 check, king takes a2, rook a4 check with the king forced to b1, and then rook b1 checkmate. White wanted none of those complications, so he took the free knight instead. And in response, black captured on c3, and this rook is untouchable, because queen takes a2 is simply checkmate. White chose b3, and after black doubled rooks on the c file, White defended the c2 pawn with rook c1. And it's checkmate in 4 moves. A brutal sequence, all built on the back of the bishop way across the board on g7. Bishop takes b3 threatens mate next move. White captures, but rook takes b3 check, and if pawn takes, queen a1, is checkmate. White delays his fate with queen b2, but after captures, the king has only 1 square. This is checkmate. This is the subscribe button, and this is your step-by-step guide to playing the Dragon Sicilian.